Hello everyone. Welcome back to Project Takif. Today we are starting a new chapter. Chapter 7, The Revolt of 1857. The Incubation of a Revolution, 1757 to 1857. Today we are not just studying a chapter in a textbook, we are analyzing the first great shaking of the earth in modern Indian history. To understand 1857, we must first build a bridge back to 1757. The centennial context. For a century following the Battle of Plassey, the East India Company transitioned from a mere trading body into a predatory ruling entity. The revolt of 1857 was the direct product of the character and policies of colonial rule. It was not a sudden accident, but the climax of a century of simmering discontent. This discontent was cumulative, slowly poisoning the relationship between the ruler and the ruled across every section of Indian society, from the princes and the sepoys to the zamindars, peasants, traders, and even the scholarly classes like the Pandits and Maulvis.
The precursor outbursts. The 1857 storm did not gather in a vacuum. The century preceding it was marked by sporadic popular outbursts, including tribal movements, peasant uprisings, and civil rebellions. These were suppressed with absolute brutality by the company, but they served as the foundational layers of resistance that finally converged in 1857. The Economic Destruction, Part A, Deindustrialization. The systematic ruin of manufacture. Now let us analyze the economic triggers. The British deliberately crippled the Indian trade and mercantile class. By imposing high tariff duties on Indian-made goods while allowing British machine-made imports to flood India at low tariffs, they effectively killed Indian manufacture. By the mid-19th century, the exports of cotton and silk textiles from India had practically ceased. The handloom and the spinning wheel. Even Karl Marx, writing in 1853, noted that the British intruder broke up the Indian handloom and destroyed the spinning wheel. Britain inundated the mother country of cotton with British-made cottons, leading to a total pauperization of the country. This ruin of traditional handicrafts increased the pressure on agriculture, a process we call ruralization.
The Economic Destruction, Part B, The Agrarian Crisis. The triple burden on the peasant. Aspirants, pay close attention to the plight of the peasantry. The company's only interest was the maximization of rents. They introduced unpopular revenue settlements that enforced high taxation. When peasants could not pay, they were faced with summary evictions and the loss of their traditional land rights. The cycle of indebtedness. This forced the overburdened peasant into the hands of the usurious moneylender. The moneylender, often doubling as a village grain merchant, manipulated the law and the judiciary to seize the farmer's land and belongings. The peasant was thus crushed under a triple burden of the government, the zamindar, and the moneylender. By 1857, the rural heartland was a powder keg of debt and desperation. The political and administrative aggression, the greedy policy of aggrandizement. The political causes were rooted in what the sources call the company's greedy policy of aggrandizement, broken pledges, and the cynical use of policies like effective control, the subsidiary alliance, and the doctrine of lapse caused universal suspicion among Indian rulers.
The humiliation of the Mughals. The ultimate insult came in 1856. Lord Canning announced that after the death of Prince Fakiruddin, the next Mughal successor would have to renounce the regal title and vacate the ancestral Mughal palaces. This was perceived as a direct attack on a traditional symbol of India's political unity. The destruction of patronage. The collapse of traditional aristocracies had a ripple effect. It left destitute those sections of society, priests, scholars and artisans, who derived their sustenance from royal patronage. Furthermore, the absentee sovereignty character of British rule, the fact that India was ruled from a distant land by permanent aliens, deeply hurt the pride of the people. The sepoy factor, the peasant in uniform.
A history of mutiny. Students, the sepoy was essentially a peasant in uniform. Their religious sensibilities were constantly violated by service conditions. We must note that 1857 was preceded by a long history of military revolts, including Bengal 1764, Vellore 1806, and Barrackpur 1825. The myth of invincibility. Psychologically, the sepoys were emboldened by British losses in the First Afghan War 1838-42, the Punjab Wars 1845-49, and the Crimean Wars 1854-56. These events shattered the myth that the British were unbeatable, giving the rebels the confidence that the Raj could be overthrown.
The spark, the Enfield rifle. Bone dust and grease. The immediate catalyst was the introduction of the Enfield rifle. Reports circulated that bone dust was being mixed into the atta, flour, provided to the troops. More critically, the new cartridges were greased with beef and pig fat. Since the cow is sacred to Hindus and the pig taboo for Muslims, the sepoys believed the government was actively conspiring to destroy their religion and convert them to Christianity. The outbreak from Meerut to Delhi. The timeline of mutiny. February 1857, the 19th Native Infantry at Behrampur refuses to use the new rifle and is disbanded. March 29, 1857, Mangal Pandey of the 34th Native Infantry fires at his sergeant major at Barrackpur. He is executed on April 8. May 10, 1857, the real explosion at Meerut. After 85 sepoys are dismissed and shackled for refusing the cartridges, their comrades break into open mutiny, kill their officers, and set off for Delhi after sunset. Proclaiming the emperor, upon reaching Delhi, the sepoys seize the city and proclaim the aged Bahadur Shah Zafar as the Emperor of India. This was a crucial political move. By acknowledging a Mughal head, the sepoys transformed a military mutiny into a revolutionary war.
Storm centers and their heroes. The leadership profiles. Delhi. While Bahadur Shah was the symbolic head, real command lay with General Bakht Khan, who led the Bareilly troops to the capital. Kanpur, led by Nana Sahib, the adopted son of the last Peshwa. He was supported by the brilliant strategist Tantia Tope and the propagandist Azimullah. Lucknow. Begum Hazrat Mahal took charge and proclaimed her minor son as the Nawab. Jhansi, the legendary Rani Lakshmibai, joined the rebels after her adopted son was denied the throne under the doctrine of lapse. Sir Hugh Rose called her the only man among the rebels. Bihar. The 80-year-old zamindar Kunwar Singh of Jagdishpur led the struggle with remarkable military skill. Bagpat, a local villager named Shahmal, organized peasants from 84 villages, turning a government bungalow into a hall of justice before being killed in July 1857. Suppression and the British counterattack. The campaign of vengeance. The British re-established control through a campaign of terrible vengeance. Delhi was recaptured on September 20, 1857, by Lieutenant Hudson, who shot the sons of the emperor at point-blank range. Key British officers. Candidates must memorize these names for the prelims. Delhi, John Nicholson and Lieutenant Hudson. Kanpur and Lucknow, Sir Colin Campbell. Jhansi, Sir Hugh Rose. Benares, Colonel James Neal. Analysis of failure. Why did the revolt fail? Limited territorial base. Large parts of the south, east and west remained unaffected. Class disconnect. Big zamindars acted as breakwaters to the storm, and moneylenders saw their interests better protected under the British. The modern education gap. Educated Indians viewed the revolt as a backward-looking reaction of traditional forces and hoped the British would usher in modernization. Resource disparity. Rebels fought with swords and spears against the advanced Enfield rifles of the British. No unified ideology. The rebels lacked a coherent plan for the future of India after the British were gone. Nature and historiography. The intellectual debate. British view. Sir John Seeley dismissed it as a selfish sepoy mutiny with no popular support. Nationalist view. V.D. Savarkar famously called it the first war of Indian independence. S.N. Sen argued that what began as a fight for religion ended as a war of independence. R.C. Majumdar controversially stated it was neither the first nor national nor a war of independence. The Hindu-Muslim unity factor. A remarkable feature was the communal harmony. Rebels of both faiths respected each other's sentiments. For example, an immediate ban on cow slaughter was ordered in areas where the revolt was successful. 1857 demonstrated that Indian politics were not basically communal before 1858. Consequences and the aftermath. The end of an era. The Act for the Better Government of India 1858 abolished the company and transferred power directly to the British Crown. The Governor-General was granted the title of Viceroy. The Queen's Proclamation. Issued on November 1, 1858, it promised an end to territorial annexations and respect for the dignity of native princes. However, it also marked the start of a systematic economic loot and a policy of divide and rule.
The White Mutiny. In 1861, a section of European forces under the company resented the transfer to the crown and the loss of their bhatta, extra pay, leading to an unrest known as the White Mutiny.
Conclusion. Aspirants 1857 was not just a failure. It provided the local traditions of resistance that would later fuel the national movement for freedom. It was the seed time of Indian nationalism. If you found this strategic overview helpful, please like, subscribe, and share this journey with your fellow aspirants. If you have any questions regarding what we have discussed today, drop a comment below. I will be personally addressing your doubts to ensure your conceptual clarity is absolute. Regarding structured notes and comprehensive study material, stay tuned. I will be sharing exciting updates on how to access them in our upcoming videos. Finally, as a thank you for joining Project Akif at the very beginning, there will be a special reward for our early subscribers, specifically designed to aid in your UPSC preparation.